Hello everyone. Today we're going to be going over the process of adjusting your vendor 1099 amounts in Sage Intacct. So today I'd like to show you guys two different methods. One is the manual method and the other is the import method. So for the manual method, we'll start off by navigating to the AP module and we'll take a look at the vendor list. And you want to edit your specified vendor, so we'll use this Cisco Foods vendor as an example. Once you're in the edit screen, you want to navigate over to additional information, and over on the right hand side you'll see your 1099 sections. So you want to click on the form 1099 hyperlink, and it will bring up your form name, the default box, as well as the specific entity. So we'll enter our form name, enter the default box, and enter the specific entity we are trying to adjust for. And then it will prompt you to enter the specific year of which you're trying to adjust. So we'll take a look at 2023, and we'll navigate over to the specific box and enter a $10 flat amount. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save that. And essentially that's it. With the manual process, I find that this works for, if you have a handful of vendors that need specific amounts adjusted, this is a good way to go. It's fairly simple and straightforward. But if you have more than a handful of vendors, I would suggest using the import template, and now we'll go over that. So once you save that box, you want to also save the vendor record, and those amounts should be locked in. Okay, so now we'll go over the import method for when you have more than a few vendors that you'd like to adjust. You'll find that template in just the same place where you'd find any other, in company, then setup, and then import data. All right, now we'll scroll down to the AP section, and the one we're looking for is the vendor 1099 opening balances. Okay, so when you download that file, it will look something like this. Now, I've made a few adjustments to my template. When you download that straight from Intacct, there will be two more columns. There will be a vendor name column, and then another column that escapes me at the moment. But long story short, neither of those two are needed. So you can kind of use this part of the video as a reference as to what's actually needed. And the fields are here in red, and you just want to make sure that the fields you have here are matching, down to the case of what's in Intacct. So you want to ensure the vendor name is exactly how it's represented in Intacct. The form types are typically all caps, and then everything else is just numbers. So as long as you reach those points, you should have minimal errors with this import process. Then another pointer is you want to make sure it's a CSV file and that there are no commas anywhere within the document. If you can, check those three things off the box, then you should have no issues importing this. So once you import that, just as you would anything else, you would just click import and then select your file here. Also select your year, and then you would just import that just as you would anything else. And that will also be represented the same way as doing that manual adjustment. So whether you go the manual route or the import route, all of that data is contained in the same place. So whether I manually imported this or did it through the import method, it should look just like this. This is the place where you'll find those values. Okay, so now I'd like to show you guys how that data is represented in the 1099 report, and how you can use that 1099 report to validate your amounts and ensure that everything is ready for e-filing. So we'll navigate over to the AP module once more, down to the report section. Then we'll click on 1099s and generate the 1099 report. Okay, so we'll set our date parameters. And we'll take a look at the one specific vendor. entity we're taking a look at. Then a good rule of thumb for this specific report, I like to include all of the forms just to ensure that all grounds are covered. And also only 1099 amounts. So you know that strictly what you're looking at and reconciling is only those that are going to be filed. Okay, so now we'll take a look at this report. Now, these values, Intacct calls them initial values, or in other words, an opening balance. And they're represented just a bit differently than your typical 1099 bill. With 1099 bills, you'll see that a lot of these fields are populated. Obviously you'll have your bill number, your associated account, whatever memo you left, and then the bill amount specific per bill. The initial values are a bit different in that they're only going to populate the memo column with this here, initial values, and then the specific form type and box. And you won't see these amounts, these initial values. You won't see those represented in the bill amount. You'll only see those represented in the paid amount, the total per vendor, and the grand total. So just a rule of thumb. This is the column you want to look out for. Okay, so yeah, so that's the process for updating your vendor 1099 amounts retroactively in case any bills were missed or any amounts were being transitioned from another system. That is the process. So if you have any questions, please send us an email at support@acumenfl, and we'd be glad to assist you further.